Greetings guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. I am incredibly late to the party on the subject of today's video, but recently I was made aware of this conservative Christian woman who primarily posts on TikTok, but also has a YouTube channel, and her name is Brittany Dawn. Now, a lot of you may have heard of her before. She has been around for a very, very long time, but that is not something that I realized until I was knee-deep in her content. Obviously, I went to her TikTok account and I started scrolling and having a look at all the absolutely astounding batshit takes that she has, and I realized that she has a mile high of controversies that have spanned over the past decade. So what started as what I assumed would be a relatively easy video to plan and a relatively easy thing to talk about turned into a multi-day deep dive, and even then I wasn't able to get to the bottom of all of it because there is just so much there. In this video, I want to specifically focus on the content that she creates now and who she is and what she does now, because that's what I went into this thinking I was going to do, and that's what I was prepared to plan. And I just did not have enough time to do a deep dive and make a video entirely about her entire history and do it the justice that it requires. I just did not have the time for that. But there are a lot of other creators who have done big deep dives on her. I can link a couple down in the description if you're interested in knowing a bit more about her and her past. And if you want to see another video from me where I dig into specific parts of her past a bit more, then you can let me know down in the comments below. In saying all of that, I obviously am going to be talking about her past and some of her controversies and things that have happened and she has participated in and contributed to, because I think that it is obviously very important to the content that she's making now. So this is the bones of Brittany Dawn's past and who she is and what she does presently. And if you do enjoy this video, please do not forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 500k subscribers by the end of the year, so it really helps a lot. And also on that, something that is very important that I really do need to address and talk to you about really quickly is obviously there is a lot of horrific and horrifying censorship laws that are being passed worldwide presently that is going to greatly limit content for people. There is a massive block on queer content, on educational content, on just access to information in general is being blocked to so many people. And because of the content that I create on this channel, I have been put in a position in which my content is going to be very negatively impacted by this. I, for one, have queer in my name. I post a lot of queer content. I post a lot of political content. I already, in the past few days, have had a video that I uploaded 4.5 years ago get age restricted because I was talking about queer sex, as an educational video. It got age restricted, and I feel that that may start to happen more and more. And obviously this is my job. This is what I do to provide for myself. And I have no intention on stopping in creating the content that I do. I really don't want to have to shift what I talk about because I think it's really important and I think we all, deserve to have these conversations. So I am trying to think of sort of a solution on what to do and how to go forwards from here. But I am presently thinking I may split my content a little bit more and start uploading more on my second channel, which is Kiwi, Qiwi, with more of my lighter content, my less sort of political type content. I might upload a bit more over there. If you are interested in seeing more of that, please do go subscribe because I don't know what is going to happen. And I also have a Patreon, patreon.com/savvycat. If you are able to help me out there and support me a bit financially over there, as well as monetization on this channel is absolutely going to plummet. If you are able to help in any of these ways by hitting subscribe, turning on the notification bell, subscribing to my other channels, joining my Patreon, whatever you are able to do and wanting to do, I appreciate that greatly because I would love to keep creating this content and I don't want to have to censor myself and stop talking about these important things. All right, so with that out of the way, let's dive in and have a talk about Brittany Dawn. Brittany Dawn is currently 34 years old, but she first entered the social media scene back in 2014 when she was 23. She started her online career as a fitness influencer, and a lot of her content and her fitness influencing centered around eating disorder recovery, saying that, you know, she was someone who survived an eating disorder and she wanted to like help people in bettering themselves and making better and healthier choices. Although her most popular videos from that time are all things like how to make 0-calorie drinks, how to lose weight, how I lost 40 pounds. And so, you know, maybe I missed the memo, but everyone was, from all the information I could gather, people were saying that her content, she was advertising as helping people with eating disorders. And from what the content is, what I imagine that means and how I interpreted that is how to give people eating disorders. How are we going to help people maintain their eating disorders? Because that's kind of what those titles imply. But I digress. Once she gained enough of an audience on her YouTube channel and other social media accounts, she decided to release a fitness guide of her own. You know, a lot of these fitness influencers all come out with their own apps and their own training guides. It is not a new thing. It is not a unique thing. Everyone does them. And so obviously she thought that she would, you know, create and sell her own. But hers was different. Hers was special. Hers was personalized and tailored to the individual. And again, had an emphasis on helping people with their eating disorders. That's how she was marketing it. Something that was personalized, it was unique to you. If you had any questions or concerns, you could directly contact her and she would help you. And it was going to be healthy and, you know, focus on being healthy and not like any eating disorder type behavior or anything. However, people who bought this guide did not have it tailored to them. It was not a unique guide. It was not personalized to them. Some of them were given some really harmful stuff that was actually really negatively impacting their eating disorders. And when they tried to contact her or contact her team to try to sort this out and ask questions and get support, they were responded to with an automated message that told them like, keep it up, keep going, you got this, like no help whatsoever. So they were buying a product that was not what it was advertised as, and then they were not being met with any help at all when they were trying to address the issue. And there were times when this issue was addressed to her in person and she just shut them down and walked away and didn't acknowledge it at all. After all of this was going on, during all of this happening, the way she dealt with it was she just disappeared. She like removed herself from the internet. She vanished, nowhere to be seen, because she didn't want to deal with it. She didn't want to take responsibility for it. There was no apology. There was no nothing. She just vanished. A few years later, Brittany made a reappearance. She returned to the internet, but you know, like many influencers who get in trouble do, she came back as a brand new person because she was saved by Jesus. She is a born-again Christian. She has come back, you know, she's spent all this time like repenting and bettering herself, and now she's a brand new person, and who she was in the past is just like not her anymore. It was bad for her and her mental health, and she was just living this terrible life, and now finally she's a woman of God and she's happy and healthy now, and she never wants to look back. And in order for any of us to ever truly be happy, we should follow in her footsteps too. Finding God and becoming Christian and dedicating our lives to Christ is the only way that we will ever be able to feel truly happy and recover from our past. And she said that through this journey of, you know, finding Christ, she also found herself, and she was able to find strength and love and trust within that relationship with God. And it was through that she was able to recover from her eating disorders, and she was able to leave an abusive relationship and find this like strength within herself to like not enter another abusive relationship and find someone who actually loves her. And obviously that is an incredible thing, you know, like recovering from an eating disorder and removing yourself from an abusive relationship are not easy things at all, and that absolutely deserves to be recognized as like an incredible thing to do. And I'm very glad that she was able to do that. And you know, I think that some people do find religion and like that does help them through these things, and I completely respect that. I know people personally who have really struggled with mental health and have found God and have like used that to like lean on and to help get them through this, because it makes them feel like not alone and like someone is looking out for them. And if that is something that has worked for you, then I love that for you. I'm happy for you. However, in this situation, it doesn't really end there. You know, like, she is someone who says that she found religion and found God and dedicated herself to Christ, and it helped her become a better person and move past all of this and like heal and feel less alone. And again, that is great. However, she has then taken those values and twisted it and like using Christianity to not like only better herself, but to hurt other people, because with the Christian values she has taken on, she has also gained a lot of bigoted values in which she posts a lot of very misogynistic and racist content. She posts a lot of just like hateful, bigoted, conservative content, and that's where the line is, right? And I cannot imagine how frustrating it must be for non-conservative, non-bigoted Christians to see this happen. You know what I mean? Like, if you are watching someone who was initially rather like liberal, or at least like did not hold bigoted opinions, or at the very least did not express bigoted opinions, and you see them find God, and it was through doing that made them into just a shitty person who like is full of hate and spreads hate. Like, I cannot imagine how frustrating that must be to watch happen, because it must feel so disrespectful to your own religion and your own beliefs. And like, also it continues to push the idea that like Christianity is bad and it is like a hateful religion, when I know at its core religion is not meant to be used that way. And yeah, I empathize for the Christians who like use God as like a comfort thing, not as like a hateful thing, you know? Anyway, when she did return, or I think even just a bit before she made this big return, there was a lawsuit filed against her for the product that she was selling and how it was misadvertised, and she was not selling what she was advertising, and she wasn't helping, and like it caused a lot of harm to people, and it was just breaking the law because she was advertising a product that she was not selling. And so when she faced this lawsuit, she had to pay $400,000 to settle it. So, you know, at least there was some sort of justice there, I suppose. All of that is only just like scratching the surface of the history she has online and, you know, everything that she has done and the controversies that have existed. But it is the most important part, and the thing I think you need to know before we talk about where she is now and the rest of it. I could probably go in much more depth and much more detail about this and a whole pile of other stuff, but as said, we don't have time for that today. So yeah, now you have that sort of context, we are going to have a bit of a look into what she is doing now, and there'll be some more little pieces of her past that pop up along the way. We are going to start with this one TikTok that I saw, that is the first thing I saw of her, that is what made me decide to dig into her and do this video in the first place. So this is just a TikTok of her standing in her kitchen drinking an iced latte, and it says, "I like my country like I like my coffee, with ice." Oh my god. I will never understand how people can look at what ice is doing and think that it's good and be on their side and like vote for that to happen. You are looking at people who are, you know, having their homes taken away from them, their incomes taken away from them. There are people being separated from their families, their friends. Like, you are watching people be removed from their entire life. For what? For what? Why is that something that you think is good in any way at all? People are being arrested and deported and having their entire lives stripped away from them just because they don't have a piece of paper. And even then, there are people who are being denied entry back into the country even if they have the correct paperwork. There are people who are being asked to leave and being deported even if they are there legally. And the thing is that these people say that it's, well, they're just deporting criminals. And obviously the criminals that are being deported, the crime is just that they don't have the right paperwork. And even then, again, not even necessarily true. A lot of people are being deported even if they have the correct paperwork, but you know. And then the other thing that they like to claim and say that, you know, it's the reason that they are being deported and should be deported is that these illegal immigrants, in quotes, because I think being an illegal immigrant is ridiculous. It's a country, borders are fake. It's all fucking fake. Who cares? Let people live where they want. Anyway, they say that these people aren't paying taxes and that's not fair. That's not okay. It's a crime to not pay taxes. And if you're not going to pay taxes and contribute to feeding the economy, then you have to get the fuck out. But hear me out here for a second. You can be an illegal immigrant and still have a taxpayer number. You don't even have to have a social security number to have a taxpayer number. These illegal immigrants who are being hired for work are paying taxes. You know who isn't paying taxes though? Billionaires. Billionaires aren't paying taxes, or at the very least they are not paying anywhere near the amount of tax that they should be paying. But again, I don't see you sitting here demanding they be thrown out of the country. I don't even see you sitting here saying they should face any punishment whatsoever. Billionaires are fine. They're fine. Wealthy people not paying taxes, that's totally fine. Working class people who are being taken advantage of and being paid sometimes under the table and below minimum wage, who are paying taxes, they're the problem? Excuse me? In general, I don't think working class people should be paying very much in tax anyway, and maybe even no tax. I think that the wealthy should be covering the tax of the people lower down, because the cost of living has raised exponentially and the amount of tax that is expected to be paid by people is far higher than balances out to how much the cost of living is, especially considering how much money the wealthy can afford to pay extra in tax. But that's for another video. Anyway, fuck ICE. Fuck this take. Oh my God. Let people live. Let people have lives. Let people live in countries. Borders are fake. It's all fucking fake. Who cares? Fuck off. On top of her horrible, bigoted, racist type takes, she also posts a lot of Christian TikToks and like her position and her beliefs in terms of Christianity. And some of them are so baffling to me. Like, I've posted a lot of videos about Christian content, right? I've watched a lot of Christian TikToks. I've watched a lot of Christian videos, read a lot of Christian posts, etc. I feel like I thought I'd kind of seen it all, you know? But she's posted some stuff that I've literally never heard before and has me sitting here like, what? What? Like this one. All right. When you hear someone say marriage is for man and woman, the rainbow belongs to God, abortion is murder, and aliens are fallen angels. And it's like that TikTok of her being like, oh my God, my people. And I'm sorry. Like, okay, I've heard most of this before and it's ridiculous and I have a bunch of things to say about all of it, but I just really need to zoom in and focus on the one part that says aliens are fallen angels, because what? What did you just say? What did you say? Aliens are fallen angels. Do you know how many times I sat here and read that and tried to figure out what the fuck it meant? I had to ask Kat if she understood. She also stared at me with a fucking blank face. Ended up having to Google it and then like spent a while trying to figure it out, and I finally figured out what it is. Basically, what it means is that any alien sighting that people have claimed, they did not actually see an alien, they saw a fallen angel, is what she's trying to say. So like, aliens aren't real, or at the very least, aliens have never been to Earth. But if you think you have seen an alien, you haven't. That wasn't an alien. It was a fallen angel. What? Where did this come from? Why is this a belief that you hold? I'm so confused by this. Also, I've asked this question before and I don't remember what the answers were, but like, does this sit with the fact that like Christians don't believe in aliens because God only created the earth? And then I asked the question, how far out does like God go for these Christians versus if any of you are Christian as well? Like, God created the earth, he created animals and man and yada yada. Are there other gods for other planets? Did God create the solar system? Do they think that the universe is like it's like a fake made up thing and the entire like universe is actually just our solar system? Are there multiple gods who have created other planets? Are there like, I need to know where the boundary of creation and God exists. Is the reason she's saying that fallen angels are aliens, or aliens are fallen angels, because she doesn't believe in aliens because God had no time to create life on other planets? So obviously if you see something that doesn't belong, it's an angel. Like, if you know, let me know, because I'd love to know. On top of this absolutely batshit take, she also made this video where she is talking about evolution and creationism and how evolution is obviously fake. And I just have to show you this video.
You cannot believe in evolution and also believe in God. But more specifically, you cannot believe that we were created and started as monkeys, but that also we were made in God's image.
Sorry, I have to pause it so quick because it's just so funny. She's showing a side by side of like evolution and like starting with like the face of an ape and going through time and like the face morphing and changing until we get to like humans. Then it goes into like creationism and it's like showing the earth from far away and then zooming in and it's just a man who like stands up out of the mud and it says how it actually happened. And it's quite funny. And it's so funny because she's acting as though that looks more realistic when like I believe in evolution, obviously. I don't believe in creationism at all. But watching that video made me be even more certain in what I was already certain about, right? Like I watched that creationism video and I'm like, how anyone can watch that and be like, that makes sense. I don't know. You're delusional. What? How does your brain watch that video? Like a man stand up from the mud after watching the first one and be like, yeah, that makes more sense. Do you have any critical thinking skills at all? Like at all? No? Didn't think so. Anyways, I'll carry on.
Genesis 1:27 says, so God created man in his own image. He created him in the image of God. Then it goes on to say in Genesis 2:7, then the Lord God formed the man out of the dust from the ground and breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, and the man became a living being. Here's your reminder that just because it's science doesn't mean it's true.
My sister went to a Catholic school and they taught evolution at Catholic school that she went to. They said they believe in evolution. They just believe that God controlled the evolution. Like he started it and he controlled it. So like still man was made in God's image. He just like aided the process along to get there. Which I think, all right, sure. Let's believe in that. That makes sense. You're still including science. You're still including, you know, God, whatever. That's great. That's good. I'm glad that that's what we're teaching. The other one literally makes no sense. I love that she sits here and she's like, this is what the Bible says. And this is what they all do. And I just find it so fascinating because like, I don't get how people can look at a book that is so old and that was written before we had any current knowledge at all and be like, that's true. That's real. Like, girl, we have figured shit out since then. And like, who wrote the Bible? It wasn't God. It was some dude. some guy wrote the Bible. He did not have all the information. The Bible is just like guesswork. If you want to view it as something that is like a true thing, you still have to allow for like growth and change and like new knowledge to, you know, come into play. Like I always say it, but it's so fascinating and frustrating because like it is really just like they allow some changes and don't allow others. You know, they're like, if it says in the Bible, then it's true. If it doesn't say, then it's not. And it's like the Bible doesn't mention so much stuff that we have today because there was no way they could predict what we have today. There's so much knowledge that is not included in the Bible because they didn't know what we know now. And yet they're not like avoiding any of this new stuff, like cars and phones and electricity, plumbing, all of that. None of that was in the Bible. And yet they have no issue using it now and like being like, it's fine, it's good. Like we have evolved as a species, like humanity has moved so much and so much of it is not included in the Bible. And yet that's fine. But then it comes to certain things and you're like, no, the Bible said. I'm like, you can't be picking and choosing like this, right? Either the Bible is like 100% true or there's some room for debate, you know? On just a little side tangenty thing right here, right, that I feel like I really need to point out because it really fucking bothered me. That evolution video, okay? And I know that I shouldn't expect any differently, but it really fucking pissed me off that the evolution video started obviously with apes and then moved into people. But then once it got to, you know, humans, it shifted and like moved into white people. It was like, yeah, all right. Apes evolved into this and then it was like into black people and then look, now we're into like white European people, which has the really horrible like implication that like black people are less human, like they're less evolved. Like it could have just kept going on that path. There was absolutely no need to move away and include like the migration away from there to be like, yes, and we evolved. They didn't evolve. Like, fuck off. All right. If you're going to be doing that and you want to show evolution past like where the migration happens, you have to show like a split screen. I think that'd be way more interesting anyway. Like, if you're going to show that, then like get the point where migration happened and then show, you know, different continents for how people evolved, because everyone evolved very differently based on, you know, environment and beauty standards and the likes based on where they were. And I think that that's a really interesting thing. And I was trying to find if this existed. I was like, oh, I wonder if this exists. And there's like an evolution, you know, video or chart that shows where people separated and how people grew and changed in different places in the world. And it's fascinating because when I was looking up evolution videos, all of them were just about white people. Every single one of them. It showed the migration and they kept going for white people. It showed where like we left Africa and then it like left black people completely off, and it was like, yeah, evolution moved past black people into white people. And I'm like, okay, I sense an issue, and I think we all need to sit down and have a conversation about this, because what the fuck? We all continued evolving in different ways in different places. And I think that that's a really cool thing. And I think it'd be really cool to look at the differences and how environment like impacted how we've like grown and adapted and changed based on the environment that we live in. But no one's making that. Everyone's all just showing how white people are evolved, and that's fucked up, and it pissed me off. And yeah, I just wanted to complain about that real quick. And, you know, I don't expect any different because this is a bigoted Christian video that is like pro-creationism. So I know I'm asking for too much, but I found stuff on like the BBC and like National Geographic and that sort of stuff, and they also did that. So, you know, I would like to make some like unbiased stuff about evolution. That'd be really cool. Outside of these unhinged Christian TikToks that she has, her content largely revolves around being a wife, motherhood, fertility, that sort of stuff, and what it looks like to be a Christian woman in those sort of situations. She has made a fair few videos talking about her past in which she was in an abusive relationship and how she was able to remove herself from that and then took the time to like learn and grow, and has since found a man that is loving and kind and whom she loves and respects, and he respects her. And, you know, I really want to be happy for her because that's an incredible thing to do. Getting out of an abusive relationship is so hard, and like getting to a place where you value yourself and you can trust not only someone else but trust yourself too is an incredibly difficult thing to do. And I don't want to take away from the fact that that is like an incredible accomplishment, and I wanted to be happy for her in this new relationship and situation that she's in. But then I watched some of these TikToks of their relationship and also found out a bit more about who he is, and I suddenly was feeling a little bit less happy for her. She posted, "Unpopular boundaries that we follow in our Christian marriage. We do not text or DM the opposite sex without telling our spouse about it. We embrace our biblical roles. I submit to him and he leads us. We do not entertain conversations that dishonor our spouse. No one-on-one time with the opposite sex besides family. No plans or decisions are made without first discussing them together. We validate each other's feelings and emotions when we disagree, no matter which one of us is wrong. Financial transparency about everything, even the small purchases." So from reading this alone, I can tell that the big trigger points for her in a relationship were communication issues and financial abuse because of how she speaks about that, and is like, these are unpopular values in a relationship. And I'm like, girl, no, they're not. I hope. But clearly she was told that they were, and that was like normalized in her last relationship. So she put her foot down and set boundaries here. Good for her. Go off. I really hope that those are not unpopular values, because that's concerning if they are. The rest of them, though, show such a lack of trust between them, right? Like, I always hate the rules of being like, you can't talk to the opposite gender. You have to run everything by me first. Like, you shouldn't have to do that. You know, if you cannot trust your partner to speak to someone of the opposite sex, then like, you have issues. You have trust issues in this relationship. Like, you should be able to trust your partner with anyone, right? Like, if they love and trust and respect you, nothing is gonna happen. It like puts such a negative light on people, right? It's like, you think that them just being in the room with someone of the opposite gender means they're gonna cheat on you. Are they like that sex driven all the time? Like, what do you think is gonna happen? Why is that? Like, I don't understand it at all? Do you think that like your husband's gonna be in a room with another woman, he's just not gonna be able to control himself? Does he think the same for you? Like, why is this something that people care so much about? I do not understand. Surely people are not sexually attracted to everyone of the gender that they are attracted to. And like, I understand that these like traditional roles work for some people in some relationships, but I really don't like when it doesn't come from themselves, you know, like it's not a like, this is what works for us, this is what I want, what you want. When it comes from a place of like, this is what the Bible is telling me, this is what God is telling me, I feel you are still oppressing yourself, you are still being controlled by someone. Like, this someone who is controlling you is faceless and you don't know them, but like, you are still allowing yourself to have your life be dictated by what someone else wants for you, right? Like, if this is not something that you would choose for yourself and you're only choosing because a book told you or your pastor told you or whatever, like, you are still allowing yourself to be controlled. Acting as though finding Christ has given you freedom and then saying that you are limiting yourself in your relationship because of what the Bible tells you, like, that did not grant you freedom. You just moved to a different cage. When it comes to her husband, she posts a lot about him on TikTok. She makes a lot of videos talking about how kind and wonderful and gentle he is and how it's so lovely to go from, you know, being in a relationship where she wasn't respected and she was taken advantage of and manipulated into being in a relationship with a kind and loving, wonderful man. And again, I wanted to be happy for her. I was like, that's so great. I'm glad you found someone that, you know, loves you and respects you and is so gentle. And then I found out who he is and what his past is. And I don't think you could use kind or gentle to describe this man, all right? So she stands here and she calls him a military man. She says that she's dating a military man, which, one, already don't think you can be a military man and also kind and gentle. But secondly, that's not true. What he is an ex-cop. Off to a terrible start. But he's not an ex-cop by choice. Like, he didn't choose to quit the force. He's an ex-cop because he was sued by the American Civil Liberties Union for excessive use of force on an unarmed black man. So I really, really don't think that kind and gentle are two words that apply to this man at all. But you know, his unkindness and aggression, that doesn't impact her. She's fine. It doesn't matter that he's racist. It doesn't matter that he's violent. As long as it doesn't impact her, who cares? Who cares? Speaking of her husband being violent, though, does anyone remember a couple years ago when that influencer couple went out to do some errands and came back and their dogs had gotten out, one of them had gotten hit by a car, and instead of taking the dog to the vet, the husband went inside, got a shotgun and shot the dog in the head? Because I remember when that happened, and I remember being quite mortified by it. And it turns out that this was them. This is something that happened to them. They came home after letting their dogs out, which don't fucking do that, to one of their dogs being hit by a car and in a pretty rough shape. And the response wasn't to, you know, call the vet, take them to an emergency vet, do anything like that. Response was for her husband to immediately go get a gun and shoot the dog in the head to put it out of its misery. And she claims that that's the only thing that could have been done in that instance, and she would know because she was a vet tech for 5 years, despite the fact she has never been licensed. She's never had a license to be a vet tech. So, no. No, you weren't. I'm sorry. When were you a vet tech for 5 years? You started social media when you were in your early 20s, and you don't have a license to practice being a vet tech, and you never have. So I don't fucking believe you. And even still, like, sure, okay, I understand sometimes putting an animal out of its misery if it's in a situation in which it really cannot be helped. However, me personally, if I came home and saw my dog had been hit by a car and was in poor shape, I would do everything I could in that situation to try to fix him. I would pay any amount of money. That is my child. I love him more than life. That is not something that I would ever do. I would do everything in my power, pay any amount of money that was asked of me, like go into debt. I don't fucking care. I am doing anything I can in that situation to save my dog. But they did nothing and was like, that's fine. But, you know, they have an entire history of abusing animals. So it's, again, not very surprising. Someone actually made an entire spreadsheet over all of the animals that they have had and how pretty much all of them have been abused. Someone made, like, there's enough of it for someone to have made like a 10-minute video just going into it and not even getting through all of it. There is one instance of one of their dogs a year ago was found outside, like starving. They took him in and have adopted him, and now he is happy and living his best life. He is fed, he is loved, he is very, very happy. And it's cute because there is a Reddit dedicated to her and all of this drama, and there's a whole section just dedicated to this dog and like updates of him and showing him like happy and with presents and playing and stuff, and it's really, really sweet. And I'm really, really glad that that had a happy ending, but it's fucked up that it ended up there in the first place. She doesn't have pets anymore, as far as I'm aware. She's done with animals. She doesn't need pets anymore because she's moved on to something better. Babies. Because, you know, if you can't take care of a pet, then obviously the next step is to take care of a human. Prior to the birth of her child, her content very largely revolved around fertility and her fertility issues and her miscarriages and her experience fostering a child, which is a whole other can of worms that, again, you can find in other videos, or if you want me to dig deeper into all of this, let me know. But right now, I don't have the time for another side tangent. I'm already running so much over what I thought I would be. So she focused very largely on that and how, you know, it's your biblical duty as a woman to be a mother, and she just wanted that to happen for her. But after a couple of years of trying, she had a baby a few months ago, and obviously now centers a lot of her content around being a mother. But not only is she, you know, talking about just being a mother and having a baby, she is using it to actively be anti-women. She is using her motherhood as a way to shame other women and to just be, once again, a bad person. And also making more takes that I've never heard before that have confused me beyond belief. All right, I'm going to read you one of her most recent TikToks, and I need your help to help me understand, because I Googled this too. I went through multiple different sources trying to figure out what the fuck she was talking about, and I like could not do it. I have no idea what she's talking about. So I might sound completely uneducated and like I just don't understand here, and that's because I don't. That's because I don't. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it's just because I don't understand how the Bible is read. I don't know. If you know what's going on, let me know. Anyway, here's what she said. To the mothers pacing the halls with a baby on your hip while the sermon plays faintly in the background, God sees you. Our children are the only thing we can take with us to heaven. You're not missing out. You're raising up the next generation of warriors for the kingdom. These quiet, unseen moments aren't a detour from your calling. They are your calling. This is holy work. This is your ministry. And I'm so confused by what any of this means. One, what do you mean you're raising the kingdom's warriors? So when you go to heaven, you're a warrior? You're going into fight? That's not a Christian. Isn't that like a Viking thing? That's not a Christian thing, right? They're not fighters. Why is your duty to like give birth so you can populate heaven with like warriors? Are they fighting a war after they die? Does God have a war going on and you're like providing the soldiers for the war and your purpose in life is to do that? You realize how fucked up that is, right? Like, if anything, if I was told that I had a child and its entire life is being prepared to die to go to war for God, that would, one, make me fucking hate God even more than I presently do. Two, it would make me not want to have kids. If I find out what's waiting for them after they die, if they live a good life and follow all the rules, they go to heaven, but heaven is just them fighting a war? Or am I misunderstanding? I don't know how else to interpret that though. And also on that, if you're raising kingdom's next generation of warriors, was your mother doing the same to you? When you die and go to heaven, are you also going to be a warrior? Is everyone who dies going to be either going to hell or fighting in God's war? Are those the two options? Because those both sound fucking shit, if you ask me. Not really up for either of those, actually. No, thank you. I think I'd rather go to hell than spend eternity fighting in an endless war, though. Let's be so fucking for real. My third question about this is, when you die, the only thing you can take with you to heaven is your child. Are you dying at the same time? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean when you die, the only thing you take with you is your child? So are you dying, right? And then you're like living in limbo until your child dies and then you both go to heaven? But then no one would ever be there because you're waiting for your child to die, but your mother was waiting for you to die, and your mom can't go until you go, and you can't go until your kid goes, and it goes back forever. No one can ever go. If you're all standing there waiting for your children, unless you are the last in your bloodline, no one's going. No one's going anywhere. So then surely the best thing to do would be to not have kids, and then your entire bloodline can all go to heaven finally after lying in wait for like thousands of years. Maybe I'm reading that wrong too. I don't know. Are we all dying together? Are you and your kid dying together? Explain. Are you saying that you're going to wait in heaven for your kid to die and then they go up to you? But then what if they've had kids? What about their kids? Again, we're living in limbo, waiting for generations to all join each other, and none of it makes sense. And I need someone to explain what this entire thing means, because I have given myself a headache trying to pick it apart. Maybe it just doesn't make sense. Maybe there is no sense to it, and she has never internalized any of it and is just fucking saying words and none of it makes sense together. But here's another one that she is lying in bed with her husband and her baby, and it says, "You and your spouse weren't brought together just to love each other. You were assigned to shift your bloodline. What the enemy sent out to divide and break marriages in your family stops with you. God didn't call you to just survive marriage. He called you to build a new foundation for your children and your children's children, for the generations yet to come. You are the deliveries that God is using to rewrite your family's story." I love that she spends all this time saying that she loves her husband and that she's happy and he's kind and gentle and is wonderful. But then here she says, you and your spouse are together not just to love. Like, love is not actually that important. And then also saying that marriage is something that you survive. Like, it doesn't sound like the love is really as deep as she is trying to portray it as being. Like, this is such a sad way to look at it, right? Of like, this basically just feels very much like it's like an anti-divorce type sentiment of being like, no matter how little love there is in your marriage, no matter how much you don't want to be with your husband anymore, you have to persevere, you have to survive, because it is your duty to be together, to raise children and break your bloodline's curse. I don't understand anything she's saying. I'm trying my best. Again, this is one of those ones where like it makes me understand Christianity less. Like, whenever these people talk about relationships and things in this way, like, all it does is make me so confused and sad and concerned, because like it is so restrictive, and they're constantly talking about God as this just like power hungry, selfish, abusive being, right? Because like it's just being like, you have to get together and stay together even if you fucking hate each other, even if there's no love, nothing. You have to stay together. You have to have babies specifically so you can tell them about me. You have to tell them to worship me, to dedicate their life to me, to follow me unquestioningly. You have to put me above everyone else. I come before your partner. I come before your kids. I come before everything. You have to run every single decision you make past me. And if I don't like it, I will damn you to eternal suffering. And I'm meant to think that this is good. Like, that's meant to sound appealing to me. I just don't understand how these people can sit here and say this stuff and think that what they're saying is making me want to also do that and to join them. Like, it just really emphasizes the level of just like brainwashing that goes into this level of Christianity, because there is not a single thing that you could say to me that would make me look at that set of values and think that that was healthy or good. Like, you are allowing yourself to be controlled and abused by like an outside force. And it's concerning on her behalf, because obviously she came into this and came out being like, you know, this is what helped her get out of an abusive relationship. And it just very much feels like she went again from one cage to another, of like, she never actually learned how to be independent or stand up for herself or like think for herself, really. Like, she really struggles to exist where she is not being controlled or not having like a very strict thing to follow. And it's more an illusion of freedom than actual freedom. And like, it's very clear, like, to the extreme of these takes that she has and the things that she says, based off of the complete polar to how she was before, that she really was taken advantage of when she was at her most vulnerable. It's quite upsetting, you know? Obviously, she wasn't really a good person before anyway. And obviously she's even worse now. But again, I think I can feel empathy for her and her situation whilst also holding her accountable for her actions. And like, I think, you know, it'd be really good if she could reflect on everything and actually get herself out and allow herself to be a person. I don't care if she stays Christian and believing in God, but I think that it's unhealthy to live your life following God to this degree, you know, and enforcing these values. As soon as your religion causes you to give up what makes you happy and to live your life in such a restrictive way, I question your intent, and I think that you should question your views and your morals. I think that, like, if you're going to be religious and believe in a God, then surely you should want your God to be kind, right? Like, I don't understand why you would want to follow someone who doesn't want you to be happy, who wants you to constantly make sacrifices that mean that you are unhappy. If you're going to be following a God, why would it be someone whom is constantly testing you and whom, you know, wants you to dedicate your entire life to doing nothing but worshiping him, right? Like, I don't know. I just think that these people need to, like, question where they're coming from and question the person, being, whatever that they follow. Yeah, so that's Brittany Dawn, or the bones of Brittany Dawn. I actually had more notes written, but I've been here for like an hour and a half and I was not meant to be here for that long. So if you would like another video on her, please do let me know down in the comments. Like, tell me if there's any specific aspects of this you want me to go into further, or if you want another more general video, like, let me know and maybe I'll do another one of these. Yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do not forget to leave a like, comment, and do not forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. My videos are not being sent out as notifications or recommended to people as much presently, so I really do appreciate it. A huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons: Aurora, Sienna, Alicia, Muriel, Bree, Bay the Trucker, Chastity, Beckett, Prismatic Petey, Sushi, Uh-Oh, It's Crigolo, Phil the Duck, River, Queen Glimmer, Ella, Mr. Noodle, Radsack, Knitting Menace, Samuel, Chris, Ellie, Alexis, and Bobby. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah.